We've got a featured talk by an MPS dad, Jeff Leider, and I'm going to invite him up to the stage in just a second. Jeff is a nationally recognized fierce advocate in the rare disease community, and when both of his sons, Jason and Justin, were diagnosed with Hunter syndrome, Jeff turned family tragedy into a relentless nationwide crusade for a cure. So to bring awareness to his family's reality and make Hunter syndrome a household word, Jeff launched Jason and Justin's Journey X2. His tenacity and refusal to back down captured national media attention, landing him and his family story on Fox, CNN, and ABC. And I remember when Jeff entered the community, he had a monster truck that he would take to street rallies to get attention, and as well as doing some fine work in newborn screening there in his home state of New Jersey. So welcome, Jeff.
Thank you, Steve. Are we on? Quote, "Come hell or high water, I am going to save these boys," end quote. That was said by the late Congressman Bill Pascrell in the Rotunda. Now, I'll get back to that quote in a little while, but at this point, I want to let you know about my journey. Now, you might hear me here today. You might hear me scream, get loud. Yeah, I'm originally from New Jersey, so I will get loud. You might hear me cry because I am you, and you are me. We walk the same shoes. We walk the same paths. We all have our own journey. So when you hear me cry or you hear me laugh, think of your own world. Well, our journey in our world started one day with my son, Jason, who wasn't reaching his milestones. And we didn't know what was going on. I'm just a landscaper, okay? I design, I plant shrubs, I do walls, I do rock gardens, all that good stuff. I don't know what's going on. My wife's a school teacher, so we went and seen the doctor, and she wrote down this big, long word on a thing, and I couldn't even pronounce it, right? She said, fold it up. We went home with that thing. So my wife started to Google this word, MPS, Hunter syndrome, whatever it may be, and we've seen all the bad things about it. So to fast forward, we went to see a doctor, Dr. Pedro up in Hackensack. And you know how I noticed something? Because being from New Jersey, when we were from New Jersey, and he was giving Jason a lot of toys. I'm like, this ain't going to be good because this diagnosis is not going to be good. So he started giving him all these toys. We found out that Jason had Hunter syndrome. We found out the gravity of it. And then we went home, and it was a few days later, a week later, and my youngest son, Justin, was playing on the floor, and my wife looked at me, and she said, could it be? And I looked at her, and we both knew, without even a diagnosis, that Justin had it as well. And that's when the journey began. So what we did was, I didn't know nothing. I don't know anything. We reached out to this big, tall guy down in Chapel Hill, North Carolina. One of the best, that they said that he was the best in the country. Well, everybody as parents want to go see the best, right? So that's what we did. He gave us 2-3 hours of his precious time to answer all our questions. I mean, leaving there, I didn't feel hopeful. I felt left empty, that my two boys, Jason and Justin, were going to be gone by the age of 15. If there's anything about this gentleman, is that he's honest. He will never sugarcoat anything. He will tell you how it is, and he'll tell you the truth. And that's one thing that I truly respect in Dr. Munzer. Thank you for that. So we went home, and we started dealing with Hunter syndrome. Well, I started getting involved and driven into the rare disease world and doing what I needed to do to try to save my boys, because I knew time was of a limit. They were going to die by the age of 15 years old. And there was nothing I could do. There was no hope. Just to fast forward a little bit, a trial comes out from Shire Pharmaceutical. And things are going good. And children are getting in it by age requirement as well as IQ requirement. And children are getting into it. So when it was our turn to get into the trial was on hold. It stopped. The reason for it wasn't because of the medication. It was the deliverance of the medication, which was the port. It was broken. They had to go back. They had to make a new design, had to wait to see if that one works. Meanwhile, while I am waiting, and I remember this really clearly, I was in UNC down there. Dr. Munzer walked into our room, curtains on each side, and I had tears in my eyes. He said, what's the matter? I says, I can't fathom. I'm sitting here with my kids, and they're dying, and the kid in the curtain next door is getting the drug that would save them. And that propelled me to even do more. So while I'm waiting for this device to be developed, my children are starting to regress. According to Dr. Munzer, they start to regress in IQ level. There was a parameter to meet that IQ level, and my kids were regressing, getting dangerously close to not being accepted in if the trial reopened. I'm like, I can't just wait. What can I do? But then it dawned on me, the child next door who was in the trial, he had a broken port. Because remember I told you that the ports were breaking. They weren't working correctly. Well, then how the hell was that kid getting drug? He can't have a port. Well, he's getting an LP or a spinal tap. I was like, well, if he's getting, why can't I get it? You know? So I started getting the wheels turning, and I'm starting to get really involved with advocacy now. I'm going on CNN, ABC, NBC, every channel you could think of. Anybody that would listen to me, I'm doing it. I'm reaching out to Shire Pharmaceutical. My wife and I'm going to teach you a little bit about advocacy. If you think you could go down to Congress and what's called, quote unquote, an ask, it's not going to work that way to your representatives. What you need to do is invest your time, get to know the staffers, because the staffers are the ones that truly move the mountains. So that's what I did. But there was one thing that I thought was very intriguing. Remember, I'm just a dad. I'm just a landscaper, right? I don't have power. And I'll even degrade myself, and I say I don't even have the intelligence of all these great doctors. So what did I do? I created a media frenzy. I went out and started posting about Jason and Justin's story on Facebook, any social media that I can. I intrigued so many people that we created over 5,000 friends in the local area of the state of New Jersey. Everybody was waiting to see what's happening next with the boys. Now, yes, I had 5,000 friends, but no way I looked at it. Today, I have over 7,000. I don't have 7,000 friends, most of them are. I got 7,000 votes. Now I got Congress, he's got 7,000 votes to listen to me, to get back to to Congressman Bill Pascrell. He was up for re-election. Of course he's going to say that. But when he did say that, I had him guaranteed he's going to help. So as I'm doing all this advocacy and I'm doing all these things and posting on Facebook about my children's surgeries and everything that we did and pictures when I'm down at Chapel Hill, I was up for the Abbey Award and the Rare Disease for Every Life Foundation. And when I was down there, I was just walking around with my cup, meeting people. I remember Mark Danton was there, and we were chit-chatting a little bit, introduced him to me, and I told him how much he inspired me because he got into the MPS world a lot earlier than I did, and I was trying to replica what he was doing, and he gave me a lot of energy, and thank you for that. You were one of the guys that opened the door for me and gave me the confidence to where I am today, and I greatly appreciate you, sir. So I come across this little lady about this tall, and I knew who she was. She was Dr. Janet Woodcock, FDA. She was in charge of Cedar. But again, I'm just a guy. I'm just a dad trying to save his boys. And one thing I learned is you just can't jump on somebody and start asking them questions. Oh, please save my kids. That's like a turnoff. So I was talking to her, and I was talking to her about, just life in general. And we got on the subject. She's an advocate for gardening. She loves gardening. I'm a landscaper for 47 years. I'm the one guy that likes to watch grass grow, okay? Just so you know, all right? I yell at my kids if they ruin up my lines on my grass after I cut it because I like to have my lines on my lawn. Plus, I know everything about plant material and everything. So we're talking about landscaping. And we're talking about plants and tomatoes and eggplants and whatnot. And then at the end, I did mention to her at the end, says, would it be possible to maybe get a meeting with you? She says, yeah, no problem. I could do that, right? She says, email me next week, gave me her card. I went in, I accepted my award. I got the Abbey Award that night. So I emailed her the next week. She says, yeah. I'm like, if there's any kids in here anyway, I'm like, holy shit. I just got a meeting with Dr. Janet Woodcock. I'm like, wow, I know what I'm going here for. She doesn't really. She probably did a little bit. I'm trying to, save my boys. I'm like, all right, now what do I do? So I called up, remember that big man I was talking about? I had his cell number. It was probably one of the biggest mistakes he does because I call this guy all the time. And he does answer. It's pretty impressive. He does answer me. And whenever I call him, he picks up the phone. It's pretty cool. And I said to him, I said, hey, listen, I got to go down to the FDA in Silver Springs. You want to come? And I told him what I was trying to do. What I was trying to do was get an LP just like everybody else was. And he believed in me and believed what I was trying to get done. So I had the guy, right? I had the guy to go with me. But now I needed something else. I'm like, I can't just go to me and Dr. Munzer. So I reached out to somebody else that truly is somebody that gave me my backbone. And this woman is probably the most intelligent person I ever met. Her drive and her passion I was like, I got to get her, right? So I reached out to Melissa Hogan, and I know Melissa's here too. So Melissa Hogan and myself and Dr. Munzer went down there, and I get in front of Janet. We sit in a room. Now I'm in a room. Now imagine we're in a room. FDA's all on this side. Us three are on this side. I got Dr. Munzer here, and I got Melissa here. And I'm like, if I screw this up, okay, I'm dead. My kids are dead, right? I'm trying to be blunt with you to show you how stressed it was, right? So that's Bill Pascal there. And so we get in the meeting, and whatever federal government did for me, okay, what I was trying to get done was, if these kids could get the LP with these broken ports, why can't I get the LP for my children? And what I was trying to do is, before my kids fell below that IQ level, and then they couldn't get into trial, get them the LP, right? Well, I don't know what happened, to be quite honest with you. I think a lot of had to do with Bill Pascal and the federal government, because they were reaching out to the FDA too. So Janice sat down and we sat down, and I said, okay, now where we go? And Janet says to me, she goes, Mr. Leider, she says, you can't call you Jeff? I said, of course you can. She says, before you even begin, I want to let you know something. And I told you about crying. She's like, we are going to prove what you've been asking for. And we're going to allow, and Dr. Munzer might remember, I believe it was 4 kids per site, one in Oakland, California, Chicago, and UNC. And I sat there, and now I got professionals on the other side of me, and tears just started rolling down my eyes. Because I knew that day I saved my boys, because they're going to be able to get the LP if they meet the requirements. And I knew they were in that IQ level, and they were going to meet the requirements. So now I have a half-hour time. If anybody's been to the FDA, you get time slots. I'm like, okay, now what do I got to do? I got a half hour. I'm not going to say, all right, see ya, where I'm out of here. So what I did then was, I said, well, this is a good opportunity to talk about this, and Dr. Munzer was doing some talking, and Melissa. So this is a good opportunity to educate the FDA. And I told the FDA members, if we could do this, this would be great. And they were, what's that? I said, if we could take the wall that's down between both of us, I said, you might know the disease, okay? Like Dr. Munzer knows, and all these other genetic doctors know more than I'll ever know. But there's one thing that I know that doctors or FDA members will never know. They know the disease, but they go home. Us as parents, we live the diseases 24 hours a day. And I said, if we could take that wall down and learn from them what they could learn from us, and we come together as one, we could actually move mountains and make great things happen. And so that's what we talked about that day, about educating them how to ask more parent input on, on rare diseases. But then after I got done, I remember I didn't want to answer my wife's call because I know she was worried. I mean, she's at home. I was the fighter. She stayed home with the children. And I was sitting with Melissa, and we're in the car going back to D.C., and Melissa's sitting there. And I remember Melissa's like, this woman is awesome. So she's writing up statement for us to put on Facebook. I'm like, listen, let's not post this. I don't want to say nothing to Dina yet. And so she wrote it up. We said goodbye to Dr. Munzer. We thanked him for coming. Me and Melissa got back to D.C., said goodbye to her, and I get on the train to go home. I get home, and I haven't told Dina on the train. She's like, well, how'd you make out? I'm like, you know, Dina, how it goes. You know, they didn't say nothing to us. You know, they're going to get back to me, even though I knew. I walk into the house, and sitting there was my mom and dad and Dina. And I got on a knee in front of Dina. And I said to her, I just looked at her, and she says to me, Jeff Leider doesn't lose. I said, no, I didn't. Our boys are going to survive. And I could honestly say that today, when I rest my head someday, at that point in my life, I saved my boys' lives. We went through, down by UNC, the requirements. They meet the IQ levels, which I was worried about because they were regressing. They met every requirement that the trial design was set up for. Unfortunately, Jason got randomized, who's down at Camp Courage right now, for no drug for 1 year. Justin got approval. And Dr. Munzer always told me early diagnosis is the way to go. This is why we have a Justin, and then I also have a Jason. Jason is a lot more severe. Justin today, and you might see the video up in there, he's actually, today, Justin is 17 years old, 2 years, and what we always say, 2 years past his expiration date of 15, and he's driving a car with a Florida valid driver's license, and he's working. Okay, Jason, on the other hand, is a little bit more severe, but he's comprehending, and he's here, and he's 19 years old. But so now, by educating myself from Dr. Munzer about early diagnosis of this particular disease, there's Justin driving there, okay? I says, I got to go out and do more. So what I did was in the state of New Jersey, with the help of Nellie Polo, you'll see up there, Congresswoman, she's in D.C. now, she was a local official. We went out and created the Let Them Be Little law, my foundation, the Let Them Be Little Foundation. We created the Let Them Be Little law. The Let Them Be Little law was that every boy that is born in the state of New Jersey will be screened for Hunter syndrome on what Dr. Munzer told me that early diagnosis does. I said, I don't want to see another parent going through what I'm doing and wait till there's damage to be done. If we could find out how these children are with MPS Hunter syndrome at birth, why not? So we went out and created a law. But that didn't stop me from there. I moved on from there. And what I did then is we went out, my wife and I, with the help of 2 authors, and we wrote a book called A Walk in Your Shoes. Me, Justin, and Jason are on the front cover. We're actually walking into a New York Yankee game. And I kept going and kept moving till I got to a point where I knew there was not much more that I could do. So I kind of pulled myself out a little bit, and I still continued to do the Let Them Be Little Foundation, and I watched my kids grow. That was, Ron, that's one of the monster trucks there that you were talking about. And I continued to move on with the foundation and doing for all rare diseases to where I am today. And the way that I look at it is that I don't want other parents going through what we've gone through. Now, there's been great breaks lately, you know, with new drugs that just got recently FDA approved, and I'm happy for families. But I'm going to continue to fight. And one thing, that's Jason right there. Now, my children, both of them, that's Justin. And what we learned in our family is to continue to fight. And I say this to you and everybody here today. When you leave this room today, be blessed. Be blessed for what you have. Be happy. Because I'm blessed. Because Jason and Justin showed me the way, just as your children showed you the way. My boys, Justin, who's sitting here today with us, about 6 months ago, was in for a procedure, medical procedure up in New Jersey. A spine slapped up into a disc hit his spinal cord, and he went completely paralyzed from the waist down. Today, Justin is actually walking. He's back to driving his car. He's working at a restaurant now. And if he could fight, we could fight. Jason, believe it or not, had a port infection. As of Tuesday, he was in the hospital for emergency surgery. We drove 14 hours because we didn't know what was going to happen for flights and all that. So we said, we drove 14 hours with him. We're here today. We got here yesterday. 2 days after surgery, he's up here with all of us. And if we could fight, you guys could fight. We all could fight. And what I want you to leave here today is a very important message. Coach Jimmy V from the V Foundation, he always used to say, never give up, never give up. Continue to fight till you can't fight no more. And when you feel like your fight is over, that's when you begin to fight. There's a couple other people I wanted just to thank before I leave. I am facing a significant hurdle, a significant mountain now, fighting. And some of the people that are here today have joined a team that we put together. And is Corey here? Corey, are you in here? Is she there? Corey out of Michigan has joined, and I can't thank you enough for everything that you do. And we're gonna get things done. I promise you that. And for Terry Klein and her guidance and her strength that she gives me each and every day. She's probably sick of me. I'm like her second husband. I call her 3-4 times a day. Text messages at 10 o'clock at night. You know, I blow up her phone. As well as Dr. Munzer. The gentleman has never said no to me. Not once. And we have some great conversations, and he's always done everything, and I thank you, sir, for everything that you have done for me and the education that you have given me to move forward of what I've done, from what we did with Dr. Janet Woodcock to where we are today. I truly appreciate having you in my life, not only for my boys, for the other 150, 200 kids still on the outside looking in. Thank you. But as you walk out of here today, let's all be happy. And people say, well, how are you blessed? You got 2 children that are facing significant consequences, MPS 2. You know why I'm blessed? Because there's a parent right now that's grieving that they just lost their child. My kids are still here. And I always take a cloud and I turn it inside out. And I bring out the sunshine. And I'm happy to have my boys, just as we're all happy to have all our children. So as you walk out here today, be blessed. I want to thank you, everybody, for having me here today. Thank you to the MPS Society for letting me give you my story. And thank you for everybody here. The last thing I would like to say, that where I get my strength from is not only my 2 boys, but it's from my wife. I go out and fight the battles. I'm the guy on TV. I'm the loudmouth in the room. She's the one at home doing the harder work, taking care of 2 critically ill boys and my daughter, while I am fighting. Without her, I could never get done what I ever got done. And I'm truly grateful for you, Dina. For my daughter, Jordan, my beautiful daughter, all I could ask you is to try to follow a little bit in your dad's footsteps. And I see great things that are going to happen to you because of the education that what your brothers have taught you. Thank you so much. And on a final note, I would just like to say, God bless all our kids. God bless all our battles. And God bless Jason and Justin. Our journey continues. Thank you.